Hello, today I will be talking about some of the characteristics of autism. It's important to keep in mind that these characteristics that I will talk about may not apply to every single individual with autism, for the simple fact that we are all unique and we all possess individual strength and challenges. What is autism spectrum disorder? Autism refers to a range of conditions characterized by challenges, typically in the social skills area, some repetitive behaviors, and speech and nonverbal communication, as well as by unique strengths and differences. The first area that I'll be talking about is the cognitive and the neurological characteristics. So the cognitive characteristics first would be theory of mind. Individuals with ASD have difficulty understanding other people's perspective or getting inside their head, so to speak. Oftentimes there's an inability to even recognize situations that and what the appropriate response would be. So if you're in a conversation with someone, typically we would pick up on some of the cues when we're conversing with someone, such as it's time to go, or the person you're speaking to is not in the mood to talk. These are all cues that are often missed by individuals with ASD. We tend to see some motor impairments, both in delays and deficiencies. With delays, gross and fine motor skills, so picking up the pencil, cutting with scissors, kicking a ball. Some deficiencies we see is in the praxis coordination and the postural control. So standing up straight, keeping your balance are all part of the deficiencies. Cognitive inflexibility. Some people have difficulty being flexible and creative in their thinking. They tend to develop one way of doing things and they'll stick to it no matter what. If we apply this to the school setting, we see students, for example, in the math department where they will complete a number of problems, all done incorrectly, but they have learned it a certain way, and regardless of whether they are successful or not, whether it's correct or not, they will stick to what their method is. With fact versus fiction, many individuals with autism are more oriented towards factual rather than fictional. They really don't see the point of reading or writing about fictitious material because it really doesn't apply. So this could have some positive and some negative inclinations in the classroom. Concept versus detail. Conceptual development. It's important as part of the social and academic learning. So concepts really help us cut through the details and really to focus on the big picture. What is the point when you're reading something? They really help us facilitate when it comes to problem solving. And so individuals with ASD will have a hard time getting those conceptual development practices in place, and still will stay on the details and not be able to go past it. Literal versus figuratively. Individuals with autism, again, they live in literal. They can have great difficulty with figurative language and drawing inferences. So I think of the language arts classes where students with autism really struggle with when they're reading passages and stories, really trying to get those reading and listening skills through drawing inferences as a struggle. In the neurological characteristics, we see that seizures are quite common. Sensory issues, hypersensitivity, we see it in smells and sounds, textures, hyposensitivity, which I'll explain in greater detail in the next page. Proprioceptor issues, it's the movement of our limbs. So the sense of force, having that heavy hand, not being able to put extra force on that pencil, things like that. Behavior characteristics. Sometimes we see repetitive behaviors, lining up of toys or objects. Typically we see that in the younger ages, but we also, sometimes it does carry over into adulthood. Stimming, such as flapping of hands, rocking back and forth, even twirling, can be due to overstimulation, whether positive or negative. Restrictive choice of activities. Individuals with ASD have a really hard time deviating from what they know, such as their routines or their preferred choice of activities. So to break them away from what they are used to or what they like, that favorite song, that favorite book, that favorite chair, could be really challenging. Prefer to work alone. This also can be really challenging, particularly in the classroom, as we as educators are constantly trying to really shape and help for when they're older and out in the workforce, where they will be working with people and in small groups, and they will have to collaborate. So this presents a challenge sometimes when group work, when activities are assigned in a group work setting. The sensory characteristics. For hypersensitivity, again, if it's auditory, certain sounds, maybe an overload, taste, certain spices, flavors, might be too much. Visually, they could have sensitivity to light, certain letters on a piece of paper, which could make it difficulty in tracking objects or letters with their eyes. For hyposensitivity, it's usually an responsivity. Auditory, so it would be the opposite. So difficulty with verbal cues or to name being called, liking excessive loud music or games, often speaking loud. There'll be that kid that in the classroom needs those instructions repeated over and over, and will often say, "What?" after you've just given the directions. And sometimes even appears to be oblivious to their surroundings, their environment, the sounds. Communication and language characteristics. If we look at communication and we start at an early age, from the time we're born, we are communicating through our cries. And we start to go through the motions. We get into our milestones. So shortly after crying, our eye gaze and our eye contact becomes important. And then eventually our gestures, pointing at things, picking up at things, becomes really important in those early stages. Speech delays, again, typically after the age of 1, our language really starts to develop, and speech delays are usually identified in around the 1 and 2 years of age. Inability to initiate or sustain conversation. It's really hard to follow the mechanics of listening, talking to someone, reciprocating the question that was asked, and really just getting the fundamentals of what a conversation entails. Again, the eye contact isn't there, the gestures aren't there either. That really kind of help with developing in the communication. Sometimes we overlook that gestures are really important, but they really are important to our conversation. Language characteristics, we tend to see repetition of words or phrases. Sometimes we think that someone with ASD has a well-rounded sense of vocabulary, and then if we look closer, they're just a collection of words or phrases that have been picked up sometimes by peers, sometimes by adults, or even TV. Figurative language, this is an area where ASD individuals struggle with the idioms, the metaphors, the similes, and the irony, all parts of our English language. And then the unexpressive or monotone voice. There really is no intonation when they are speaking. This will be the student that really has no response, a change of response when they are praised, or even sometimes when they are scolded. It's pretty even keel. Social characteristics. We see a failure to respond to name, avoiding the eye contact, difficulty understanding other people's feelings or about own feelings. I personally think of being in school and really struggling with those writing assignments where you had to talk about your feelings or how the character of a story that you just read feels or must have felt. And so these type of situations really are challenging for a person with ASD. Will interact when they want to achieve a specific goal. So if they want something or a preferred task, then they will make that interaction happen in order to attain whatever it is they are wanting. And then they often play alone. We see this at a young age, and then in the upper grades, it becomes really hard to make friends, keep friends, and really apply all the characteristics that it is to have a friendship. So you'll typically see them alone. So it really is important that when working with individuals with ASD, we're able to acknowledge some of the characteristics they possess so that we can be prepared with intervention strategies. Thank you.